In this video, we're going to go over how to make pocket cuts from your 2D flat designs in VCarve. So in this case, I've got a couple of profile cuts. Those are in a different video. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and do a pocket cut here. Now, in this case, I already do have a closed loop. If you had just imported this drawing, actually, I'm going to show you that process on my multi-pocket one that I'm going to do here in just a minute. So we'll just please understand that you need a closed loop to be able to do this. And when you import it, even if it was a closed loop in your design software, when you bring in the DXF or whatever file type, it probably isn't. So you do have to join them. But again, we'll go over that process in a second. So after I highlight the profile that I want to use for a pocket, I'm going to go ahead and pick the pocket toolpath. And what you want to do is, just to be clear, the first thing is you got to set your cut depth. Okay. So in this case, I want this to be a fairly shallow pocket because it's a pocket to basically recess a wall hanger for a wall mounted clock. So I only want this to go in 1/8 of an inch. So 0.125 is 1/8 of an inch. Now, I've got a couple of different tools here. Now, this is completely unnecessary. First off, I have radiused these corners so that even a 1/4 inch end mill could come through and cut this with no issue. So I really actually don't need the 1/8 inch end mill. So you can go ahead and click on it and click remove. Now, it doesn't like kick it out of the software or anything like that. It just removes it for this process. Okay, especially since this can be kind of a rough cut pocket. It doesn't need to be super precise or super smooth since it's not even visible. If you do have some maybe intricate detail work, something where a 1/4 inch cutter couldn't get into it, that's where keeping the 1/8 inch cutter in there would make a lot of sense. And as we've done in other videos, we do want to click on it and click edit and make sure it is in the correct tool holder, which it is not. So this should be in tool number 2. So we'll go ahead and click OK. So I've got my tool set. It's got its cut depth. It's saying it's going to use 2 passes to do it. That's fine. And there's not a whole lot else to select. It does, gives you the option for climber conventional. Climber's just fine. The regular one is, the regular offset is just fine. You can also do raster where it kind of goes back and forth. Either one. On smaller pockets, it honestly doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it like that. You can name it, by the way, if that helps you. And then when I click calculate, it'll come in. And as you can see, I've used this part already to show profile cuts. And just like it did when I've shown this before, the red line is the tool moving without cutting, and the blue lines are the tool moving with cutting. So as I do this, I can go ahead and click preview, and it will cut out that pocket. Now, since it's using one tool for the whole thing, it doesn't need to switch tools. So it's going to do all of it with that 1/4 inch cutter, and that's just fine. If I had left both tools in there, you'd actually see there would be 2. It would be pocket 1 rough out and then just pocket 1. Pocket 1 rough out, it would use the 1/4 inch to kind of hog this out. And then it would come back with the 1/8 inch and kind of fine tune everything. Again, in this case, it's unnecessary, so I don't need to do that. And this is now a piece that is actually all done and ready to be exported. So I'm going to hit close. And that's where I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for a second, and we're going to pick up with a different part. Now we're going to work on multi-pocket cuts, or basically how to set up most of your face, as long as most of the clock face or most of whatever your part it is has pockets that are the same depth and can be done with the same cutter. So at this point, I just imported this. This was a DXF. And so I again need to do to join. So I'm going to click, with everything selected, I'm going to click the join tool. And it tells me that it has currently 10 closed and 54 open contours. And after I'm done, it'll have 17 closed contours, 0 open. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm going to go ahead and click join and then click close. Now, for this part, I actually don't want it to cut this center circle, so I can click on it and push delete. So if you do have profiles showing that you don't want to work with, you can go ahead and delete those. Now, once we've done that, I can go ahead and switch over to the toolpath section, and I am going to select the numbers and the marks all as one toolpath because I don't need to do them individually. I could, it's just going to take longer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and drag a box. Now I'm going to start just below the top of this so that I don't select the circle. That's not going to work. I need to go a little higher. There we go. I do get the 1 and 2 from the 12. And I'm going to go ahead and drag down. But again, as you can see, I'm cutting off barely the top and bottom of the circle because when I let go, you'll see I got everything from the inside, but not the outer circle because the outer circle is actually a profile cut. So at this point, I can go ahead and start my pocket toolpath. So I'm going to check my settings. I am going to do still going 1/8 of an inch deep. This is not the tool I want to use. So if I click select, I can grab the 1/8 inch end mill. I'm going to verify that it is coming from tool number 4. That's what I want. So I'm going to select this one. I'm going to go to the 1/4 inch one that was in here and I'm going to remove it. So again, all I have is my 1/8 inch. If I double click on it or I click edit, I can verify that it's using the correct tool number. Tool number 4 is in fact where the 1/8 inch end mill is. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. I'm going to look at everything. Offset or raster is fine. I don't need to plunge. These are pretty shallow pockets. We've got everything we need going on there. I could rename the pocket as well. I'm going to go ahead and click calculate. And it's going to kind of figure itself out. And I'm going to go ahead and preview it. I will just point out, I'm actually getting a weird thing happening. And I did actually machine this part and it did happen. But if you notice, there's like a little gap right here with the 2. And I'm not quite sure why it doesn't like that because it seems like most of this is the same thickness. But it does seem that that just doesn't like it right here. So I would have a couple of choices. I could go back to my design software, maybe try a different font. In mine, I actually bolded these numbers to get a bigger number. So again, maybe a different font, a blockier font might not have this same problem. Or you can take care of it after the fact. When I machined this, I actually just used a chisel and kind of joined these two really quick with really out, you really can't tell too much afterwards. It just seems like this part of it's just maybe a little bit more narrow, which is why it doesn't machine it fully. So that's something I'd take care of on the design side of things. If you do that because maybe you did yours as big blocky or just marks or something like that, then you got something like that with a 1/4 inch bit, try switching to the 1/8 inch bit. That could definitely help you. Okay, but I do see all of that around, which is good. So I'm going to go ahead and click close. And just for reference, that is something I'd want to do first. Now to make this into a full part, I would go ahead and do a profile cut here and some other things in order to get that ready. But for the most part, we've gone over everything you need to be able to set up 2D pockets in your project.